So when you think of a pig, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Farmland? Bacon? Maybe just rolling around in the mud? Well, whatever it is, get ready to have that image completely turned upside down, because we're going to uncover the complex, sophisticated, and frankly shocking intelligence hidden behind that snout. And I'm not just saying that to be nice. A whole body of scientific research is starting to show that pigs have cognitive abilities that put them in some seriously impressive company. It really challenges us to see them in a whole new light.
Yeah, you heard that right. And I'm not kidding. This isn't some weird party trick. It's a real window into a mind that is capable of some remarkable feats of learning and problem solving.
So, how in the world do we know this? Well, let's start with the gamers themselves.
Okay, let's meet our players. Hamlet, Omelette, Ivory, and Ebony. These four were the stars of a pretty amazing study designed to push the limits of their minds. Their task? To master a simple arcade-style video game.
Now just pause and think about how incredibly hard that is. I mean, an animal with no hands has to figure out how to manipulate a joystick with its nose, all while watching a little dot move on a screen. They have to connect their own physical action to something happening in a totally abstract digital world.
And they actually did it. This number, 76%, that was the success rate for one of the pigs, Ivory, on the hardest version of the game, hitting just a single target. That is not luck. That is a learned skill.
And this is the key takeaway. According to neuroscientist Lori Marino, what this really shows is a sense of self-agency, that I am doing this understanding. They got that their actions had consequences on the screen. They weren't just bumping a stick around, they knew they were in control.
Okay, so video games are one thing, and that's pretty mind-blowing. But what about the more fundamental building blocks of intelligence? How do you even test a pig's basic grasp of how the world works?
Well, it comes down to a concept called object permanence. You know, it's the whole reason Peekaboo works on a baby. It's that basic knowledge that just because you can't see something doesn't mean it has vanished into thin air. So researchers wanted to know, do pigs have it?
And this is how they figured it out. They set up a really simple choice test. They'd show a pig a treat, hide it under one of these pots, and then the pig had to pick the right one to get the reward. Simple enough, right?
The results were super revealing. When the pig watched the treat get hidden right under a pot, that's called a visible displacement. They nailed it, no problem. But when things got trickier, when the treat was put in a cup and then that cup was moved behind a screen to secretly drop the treat under a pot, they couldn't do it. They couldn't mentally track that object once it was moved out of their sight.
Now, this isn't really a failure, so much as it is a really important clue. It pins their cognitive ability at what's known as stage 5B on a famous developmental scale, which, get this, is on par with some primate species. So they have a really strong grasp of the here and now, but they struggle with that kind of abstract mental tracking.
All right, so pigs are smart, independent problem solvers. We've got that. But how do they compare to another famously intelligent animal, especially when you throw a human into the mix?
Researchers in Hungary came up with this brilliant little experiment. They put pigs and dogs in a room with a puzzle they literally could not solve on their own, a box of food that only their owner could open. The real test wasn't if they could open the box, it was what they would do when they realized they couldn't.
And the difference was just night and day. The dogs? Almost immediately, they started looking back and forth, from their owner to the box, from the box back to their owner. They were basically saying, hey, a little help here? The pigs, though, they just kept focusing on the box, trying to brute force it themselves, and eventually just got really frustrated.
You know, that famous Michael Jordan quote actually sums this up perfectly. The pigs might have the raw, independent talent, but dogs have evolved a totally different kind of smarts, a social intelligence that's all about working with us. It's not about one being smarter than the other, it's about having completely different strategies for solving problems.
So all this complex intelligence, it's not just a fun scientific curiosity, it has some really profound and often pretty troubling consequences, especially when we look at how pigs are used in the field of neuroscience.
And here's the really wild part. The very reason we're talking about their amazing minds is the exact reason they're becoming so valuable for studying the human brain. But as you can imagine, that comes with some very serious ethical questions.
And this chart really tells the story. For a long time, researchers used rodents, but you can see the genetic similarity to humans isn't all that high. Pig brains, on the other hand, they're similar in size, in structure, and have about an 80% genetic match with us. That makes them a much closer model for our own brains.
And that leads to a really big question, doesn't it?
If we are using them specifically because their brains are so much like ours, why are the rules protecting them so different from the rules protecting other intelligent animals, like monkeys?
Well, the answer comes down to a legal distinction, a loophole. Under the U.S. Animal Welfare Act, if a pig is classified as livestock being used for agricultural research, it can be excluded from many of the protections that other lab animals get. That one word, livestock, has huge, huge implications.
So when you put all of this together, their intelligence, their problem solving, their limitations, it brings us face to face with a fundamental conflict in how we think about them.
Psychologists actually have a name for it, the meat paradox. It's that mental gymnastics, that discomfort that a lot of us feel when we hold two conflicting ideas in our head. We care about animals, but we also eat animals. And the more we learn about the mind of a pig, the more uncomfortable that paradox gets.
And this really brings us to the final crucial point, again from Lori Marino. She says this isn't about creating some kind of intelligence ranking to see who deserves better treatment. It's about changing our whole understanding of who these animals are as individuals with their own cognitive and emotional lives.
So we're left with this. After seeing them learn and problem solve and even feel frustration, we kind of have to reevaluate things. They are clearly more than just livestock, more than just data points. So the question that's left for us is, knowing all of this, who are pigs to us?